There's a Will Smith hand up on the screen.
It's me. Okay. All right. Will Smith, would you like to make a public comment? Cannot move the video. Will Smith? Muted. Muted.
He is muted.
Can you unmute yourself? Will, can you unmute yourself?
If you put the three dots next to his name, you can ask him to unmute.
Okay.
There he is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
At times, the audio and the camera work are horrible on these meetings and make it almost impossible to attend remotely. Strangely, when somebody else is on remote and they speak, they're loud and clear and with good video. Usually, when somebody goes to the little table where they have a comment to the select board, that sound is usually loud and clear. But more often than not, it's hard to hear the members of the select board. Right now, I suggest that Pam and Priscilla pull that microphone back further between them. That'd make it a little easier to hear them both. Yeah, I think
You
that
mean
would help.
closer?
And then your microphone's way over there, Marcia.
Will, can you hear me?
So
Will, can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Those
hear me?
microphones just need to be where they can pick up the
Can you
sound
hear
well.
Mary? Mary? Hi, Will.
I can hear
you me?
barely. Jams
Will, can
needs.
you-
There's a lot of echoing and hesitation in the sound, and I can hear my own echo, I think. And Jams needs to do a better job with the overall with this tech stuff, the sound and the video.
Or Cedars started out being locked out tonight. It was a bad day at BlackRock.
Okay.
Okay.
I will. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Mary. Yeah. Let's see how this goes. This should be an improvement at least. All right, I'm gonna sign off and let you carry on.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
All right. You're welcome. Any other public comments? Let's see. Trying to look here. I don't see any. All right. That brings us to informational items. Brennan.
Great, thank you. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, so this is information related to an update on the police department that we had discussed at their meetings. And I would just like folks to know we have, as of today, not had a great response for the patrol officer position that was advertised about 2 weeks ago. But I do have some good news to announce tonight, and that is that we have very quickly found a qualified replacement for Chief Cochran. We are pleased to announce the selection of Matthew Romei as the interim Chief of Police effective August 3rd, which is tomorrow. Romei is a highly decorated 22-year veteran of law enforcement, and most recently served as the chief of the Vermont Capitol Police Department. He holds a bachelor's and master's degree from Norwich University and has extensive all-hazards leadership experience, in addition to substantial experience in training both emergency responders and the public. Additionally, he was a highly credentialed firefighter, paramedic, and a board-certified tactical paramedic. So we have, I think, been very fortunate to have found Matt as he goes by. Very quickly, he responded almost immediately to our posting for the Chief of Police position following Chief Cochran's resignation. We've interviewed him. We've undergone a thorough background check that was run by Chief Cochran. So right now we have basically gone through all of the pieces of the hiring process. We are still awaiting the final results of the drug and alcohol screening that is customary for any new employee that enters into the Norwich workforce. We expect to have that shortly. So at this point, we are going to welcome Matt onto the force. He's going to start tomorrow morning. We're trying to have as much redundancy as we can and overlap with Chief Cochran, so he'll have 4 days to work with Chief Cochran before he leaves. And we are also anticipating that on Monday of next week, we will have some sort of a meet and greet at the police station where folks can come that would like to both say goodbye and offer goodbyes to Chief Cochran and also talk with Matt about himself, and he'll maybe have a little bit to say as well about his interest and excitement in joining Norwich here as our new Chief of Police. So happy to answer any questions about that. I don't want to go into great detail about the personnel, the details of personnel, but I think I can answer any other general questions about the hire or anything else if people have them.
Excuse me,
Did you
but somebody on Zoom needs.
Right. And so right now, in order for folks in the basement to be able to hear people remotely, it's making sound from the TV, which of course becomes ambient sound and then echoes back to us. Right. So I think ultimately the board needs to think about, accessibility and Zoom when they do their retrofit, but that is a board conversation and a board decision. Or I would suggest that JAM, when someone remotely is talking, that if they mute themselves in the room, so that way we don't hear the echo of ourselves from the room. But that's an additional labor, and they have other things to do.
Okay.
We have a question.
Thank you. 1 second. I just wanted to know, Brennan, I almost called him Norwich. Brennan, can you tell us what time the Monday meet and greet is? I may have missed it.
I didn't mention that because we haven't actually locked in a time yet. I'm anticipating probably 10 o'clock if you want to pencil that in, and we can confirm that, and we'll probably have a listserv posting just to get it out there for other members of the community. But right now, pencil in 10 a.m. at the community room.
Okay. Community room being
At the police station?
Police station. Yeah. Okay. And now, would you like to come up and state your name? Don't say where you live, except that you're a Norwich resident.
Okay, Marshall Heinberg. I am a Norwich resident. So first, congratulations. It sounds like everybody did an outstanding job at quickly replacing. But I picked up on one thing that you said that I'm curious about, which was you referred to the new chief as interim. And I just wondered if you could comment as to why the characterization is interim. And secondly, if you could give us some sense as to how far away he lives from town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. So our new chief will be coming from about as far away as Chief Cochran was. He estimates he can be from his home in central Vermont to Norwich PD in probably 35 to 45 minutes. And so that's about comparable to where Chief Cochran is coming from now with his residence just outside of St. Johnsbury. And as far as the interim, that was a thoughtful decision. It seemed like because of the quick search and the quick decision to bring him in, it made sense to have an interim capacity for those first 6 months. It also will give him a chance to get to know Norwich. And my hope is that it'll be a great fit from both sides, and that within that 6 month period, we would probably be offering Chief Romei a full-time contract or engagement with the town. But if for some reason that doesn't pan out, he will be serving here for 6 months. And again, we have some flexibility there because of the interim nature of the hire.
I have a question for Marshall. Marshall, could you tell me your last name for the minutes, please? So I get it accurately.
Sure. It's Heinberg, H-E-I-N, as in Nancy, B-E-R-G.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Please.
Hi, thank you. Leslie Wells, Norwich resident. That's great news. He sounds incredibly well qualified. I guess kind of a general question. So there's been a lot of turnover, to state the obvious. What has kind of been learned, or what's the process? Is there a process going on about, what lessons were learned in terms of retention, which would probably be some policy and HR things, but also, funding support specifically for the department, but also salaries and the union contract, negotiation. How can we, or just say it differently, how can we avoid losing another chief, and hopefully there'll be future officers too. So that's a general question about retention and really valuing monetarily and otherwise, the people that we have.
Brennan, do you want to take a stab?
Well, I don't have an answer to all of those questions here. We obviously are cognizant that we have a police force that we want to support here in the town. We have a new chief coming in who will be quickly getting up to speed on our current personnel. And I guess that's all I can really say right now. We have lost 2 officers to other job opportunities recently, and we understand that. And we also understand that is part of working life, where folks are offered either promotions or things that they feel are opportunities in their career, and often they will take those. So we do want to have a strong police force. We want to have a resilient police force, and I think we're all working towards that, and we'll continue to work towards that with our new chief.
Thank you.
But just a follow-up, is there a commitment to have salaries that are quite competitive to keep people here?
I think
So I can't speak much.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say we really are not able to speak to union salaries in the middle of a collective bargaining agreement. We do believe that the salary that was offered to the interim chief here is competitive with the market.
I think that's the answer and the problem, that we're in the middle of collective bargaining, and that's where the salary things are set.
And that's a question. If I could ask another question, just about the union, negotiating. It's been going on 6 months, a year, something like that. Is there something? Could there be, other negotiators or an outside expert brought in to mediate? It just seems like it's taking a long time. And it really affects the quality of services we get here, and also the appeal of the town. But that seems like an extraordinary long time, particularly in an employment group that's highly sought after. And Norwich does have the money. And as of a year ago, I think we had $220,000 of saved salary. That amount a year later would be more. But it seems like, between the taxes, the saved salaries from, the last year and beyond, that's something, needs to shift in order to bring those to a successful conclusion that will make Norwich, very, very competitive in these job markets. So is there a thought about what to shift in terms of those union negotiations?
I'm part of the team, but I can't talk about it. But I'm listening, and I'm listening. I know other citizens are concerned as well, and we do want to retain our force, and we do want to have fair salaries. But I can't speak in specifics. But we'd love to wrap it up.
Yeah, I appreciate.
We'd love to wrap it up.
Yeah, and I don't practice law anymore, but I used to, and I can appreciate confidentiality. But there's also, at some point in a small town and in other circumstances, the black box kind of categorical defense and cover becomes really frustrating. Like things in a confidential, even in a criminal investigation, defense and prosecution can have a conversation where things aren't revealed, but things can get conveyed. So surely in a town of 3,000 people, things can be conveyed without confidentiality being breached. And at this point, just on a common sense basis, it seems like there's a stalemate, and maybe having an outside mediator or other experts or a shift in who's representing the town will enable, or on the other side, whatever, something needs to shift, because on the scale of things, that this isn't that complex. But it's a long time, and it affects hardworking people's salary and cost of living adjustment, and it really is an impediment to getting this town on safe, footing. I appreciate, your service, absolutely, but also at some point, something needs to shift so that things can proceed.
A few weeks ago, I read a statement that was prepared by council because we are represented by council. And I can unearth that and send it to you or whatever. But we do have competent counsel, and we are working with them, and they are working.
We're also listening. Listening to the community, and we're concerned. We know the community is concerned.
Very concerned, and way more than the people you see here. Yeah.
And we're concerned because, as much as anything, I mean, it's part of our job, but we have other things to do too. And it would be really nice to be able to get on with those other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Trust me, we want to get through this too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will Smith, did you have another comment?
I do. Concerning the police and the police unit and all that. It is my opinion that it needs to be a change in the team that is negotiating with the police union. I think there's a main impediment. I have one individual who has a admitted history of not liking police, and I think there needs to be a change made there. Somebody who would be more open-minded and not prejudiced against cops. And we'll let that go. I can give you more details if you want to hear it.
I think we get the gist. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Can I make a comment? I respectfully don't appreciate the.
1 minute. Roger, wait 1 minute. You can speak in just 1 minute. We have a question from someone who didn't understand what Will said. Will said that he wanted to see a change in the negotiating team that we have.
Yes.
And now Roger wants to comment.
Yes. So I just want to be clear that the negotiating team that is Mary Layton and myself have apprised the board of our work on at least 3 occasions since we were formed in November of 2022. We have taken the board's feedback and delivered it back to our team. So this is select board work, and there is a subcommittee that was formed to do the daily grind, but this is absolutely this is a group work, and no contract gets ratified without a vote by the full board. I just wish to clarify that.
And I'll underscore that if something needs to be decided, the team brings it to us as a board and we vote. Okay, Margaret.
Hi, Margaret Begdoyan. I wanted to speak about Chelsea Maxim because I had the opportunity to speak to her a couple of times, and I was so impressed with her and thought she was just a great asset on our police force. And when she left and talked about being paid $2.50 an hour for being on call, I was absolutely amazed. And I just hope that on-call pay is part of the negotiations, because I could certainly understand why that didn't seem fair or reasonable to her.
Thank you. I would just say, as we said at the last meeting, you can Google Norwich Collective Bargaining Agreement and read it. Okay, any other comments? No? Okay. That brings us then to the tonight's pièce de résistance. We have the RFP for the town manager search. In a moment, I'm going to put up the document that we're working with, and I'm going to just sort of make a couple of comments here. As we begin to think about this request for proposals for a town manager search firm I think we have to remember that we can't expect a candidate or a new hire to understand their role as a town manager in Norwich if we as a board aren't agreed on what that role is. So we need to be clear about that now, I think, rather than in the course of a search when the discussion becomes linked to certain candidates. With that in mind, I want to remind everyone about what a town manager is under statute and how that role limits the role of a select board. Town voted for town manager form of government. I think, Mary, you remembered 2002?
Yes.
So whatever the law requires for a town to do, the town manager must do it unless the statute reserves a particular act or responsibility to the select board or another officer. So the town managers do the accounting, for example, have charge and supervision of the town buildings, control of the police and fire departments, for example, not the select board. We do the budgets and we do policies. We have an interim town manager at the moment with a contract that requires him to get approval for certain things, such as hiring and removal. In effect, the current position has aspects that are more similar to a town administrator. However, apart from the current interim contract, the board also became, I think, increasingly involved in some of the activities that are going on in the town, which by statute are reserved to the town manager. For many reasons, I believe this is a result of distrust that's built up around former town managers and former select boards, and is one of the byproducts of the situation has been an increasingly long board meetings, as we all know, which have attempted to rebuild the trust in this board and town government, but which also involve lengthy discussions about matters which statutorily are really the prerogative of the town manager. Things like charge and supervision of public town buildings and repairs and things like that. The point I'm making is that as we begin a search for town manager, we have to understand what we're searching for and the responsibilities and trust we're placing in that position. If this board does not feel it can do that, then I think we need to go back to the voters and ask if they want a town manager form of government still, or perhaps if they want a town administrator, or maybe just a select board. Otherwise, we have to look at the statutory scope of the town manager job and be prepared to allow that person to do the work, which means, of course, that we have to fill the town manager seat with nothing less than scrupulous attention to that person's qualifications and potential to fit well in the Norwich community. So with that as a backdrop, how do you want to proceed? Full speed ahead?
Maybe we should go around, Marcia, because, I mean, you've made a certain position clear, and the rest of us may not have thought about the issues that you've brought up. So we might need a pause to think a little bit, and then maybe we should each respond on that.
Yeah. I mean, basically what I'm saying is just think about the statute, and that's going to inform what we ask people to search for and the firm that we are looking for to help us do that.
But I think if I could...
You want to go first?
Yeah, I think we have to go by statute because that's the law. But we also haven't had a functional town manager, fully functional and fully, authorized for quite a while. So as you say, there might be a little mission creep in some areas, some expectations about what we can do and what we can't do. So it's just, be a little startling to sort that out. Also, the person that we hire may not be that familiar with Vermont statutes. A fully trained Vermont town managers, I think, going to know the statutes, but if we hire someone from Alaska or, California or something like that, they also are going to have to study those statutes and figure out how to define, both to define that, or to understand it in their own mind, but also to communicate it to the select board and to the community. And I think, that might be a little daunting.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. Good points. Priscilla, Pam? Pam?
I guess the first thing I would say is I was not living in Norwich in 2002, so I was not a party to the vote to go to a town manager form of government. I believe there have been a couple of votes since then asking the voters if they wanted to stay with that or go to town administrator. I don't know the years. We do have a commitment to hold some public hearings on the use of the surplus that's being created by the ARPA funds and how the community would like to use those funds. Perhaps we could also ask the community, do they want us to continue with the town manager form of government, or would they like to see that on a town warrant as an article for them to reconsider whether we stay with that or whether we go to something else?
I think am I right? I don't think that those would be votes that we would be taking about the ARPA funds. That's just input that we would be
Right. And my question, no, what I'm suggesting is when we ask them, what are they thinking about the surplus fund use? What do they think about the town manager form of government, and would they like to see the select board put that on as an article at a future town meeting for a reconsideration vote?
But we're about to issue an RFP and about to embark on a town manager search. So I think we'd have to do a pivot fast if we were going to change anything.
Well, it's been 40 weeks since the separation agreement was signed with the last town manager. So we're coming right up on a year of being with an interim. And
Right. So my point was, is it time to do this RFP or now, or do we hold off because we've gone this long? I just want to be sure that we're doing an RFP and we know the kind of person that we want and the direction that we're going in. And it starts sort of the minute we start drafting this.
what are our odds of finding that person? We've waited 40 weeks to even start the work on an RFP, and we've not advertised this position at all. We've been advertising for a finance director, a planning administrator, a chief, police chief, officers, but we've not advertised that we're looking for a town manager. Maybe if we advertised in Vermont, we might find somebody that has some Vermont qualifications, some familiarity with Vermont statute, but we've not done that.
We did put out, we looked for an interim, so we've done that much, but I take your point. Priscilla, do you have something?
Yeah. My recollection is that when the town voted to go to the town manager form of government, it was because there was a realization that the complexity, the ever-increasing complexity of everything in life meant that it was far too demanding on a volunteer select board. And that this would enable the select board to be not a totally onerous full-time job, which kind of feels like right now, doesn't it, Marcia? The more I find out about what a town manager is supposed to do, I just read the town's finance policy, for instance. I go, we're looking for somebody with an amazing skill set and just tremendous gifts and abilities. I will also say that I am probably offending against statutes at the moment because I'm doing something that technically I probably shouldn't be doing and should be totally in the town it would, if it were a town manager full-time, would be under that person's purview and none of my business. I'm trying to get heat into Tracy Hall for this winter. And it's a pretty time-consuming thing. And I don't know that anybody else has the time to do what I'm doing right now, which is why I'm doing it. And I mean, nothing happened last year. I keep wanting to have a meeting where we can discuss options for Tracy Hall heating.
I've been meeting with lovely contractors who are willing to come and spend time and look at the building and look at things and give me estimates of things. But I suppose technically, as a select board person, I shouldn't be doing that. Technically, the town manager's office should be doing that. I'm still new enough at this. I don't know exactly what they're doing in the town manager's office. I just don't. You have a better handle on it than I do, and Mary does too. But also because you work closely with them. But I don't see how, but I also don't see how we're going to get heat in the building if I stop doing what I'm doing.
Well, I think what we had decided was Brennan had come to us and suggested that we replace the boiler with a boiler, and the board took a vote.
Right. And I was the only one who supported the boiler idea. So,
And so that means then we said, well, we're going to start investigating the building as a whole and see what we can come up with. So now we're in that venue, and it hasn't helped us. And the board's decision was for Brennan to look for alternate places to go if the heating failed, which I voted against. So it's difficult, and I think this brings it into focus because, the town manager made a recommendation, and we didn't take it. And we've also got I always forget it. 36, that says we're not going to use any more fossil fuels. So we're within that tension, but I think, I don't want to speak for Brennan, but he was trying to make the most expedient decision to get heat into the building. And so there's the tension that I'm discussing. Yeah.
Right. And the reason I voted not to put in the oil burner was because from the investigations that I've been doing, I think we could have a heating system in the building in time for this winter that would not use fossil fuels. And that's why I would prefer not to spend $45,000 on a oil burner that we're then not going to want to have, because I think it might be possible to just get the thing done without the fossil fuels.
But this really is a great discussion because it goes to the heart of what the statutes say and how we're. I'll get you. One second, Roger. I haven't forgotten you're there. Anyway, so I think this is exactly the kind of thing that we should be thinking about. Roger.
So I find it really instructive that in an agenda item where we are to discuss and approve an RFP for a town manager, we are discussing the efficacy of whether to even have a town manager. I think that it's deeply instructive. People who are of working age, right? Because we're at the end, boomers are beginning to retire if they haven't already. We are the people who are left to work, right? By and large, and there's many articles written of this, are not attracted to public service, right? And so when people take on a contract to work in public service for a town, they want to work in tandem with a partnership, and they want to know that the decisions that they make and the expertise that they bring is supported by the people who are voted in by the community. The people who are voted in by this community, the people who by and large show up to their meetings, are not people who have that ethos, right, of community building in a way where an expert would want to work. And so if, I don't even, what are we supposed to say? That a town manager respect and work to proactively find some work lockstep, and everyone should know their roles. But I would just say, you're bringing up a decision that was made in the year 2000. It's like, decision was made. We don't even need to frame the discussion as such. And that is the chief problem with Norwich. We continue to exhume imagined crises of the past rather than productively work to the future for generations that will live here. And it's exhausting. And I don't know what kind of public official we would get who would want to be employed with these stakes.
So Roger, I'm looking at the scope of work section of this, and it doesn't mention anything about the statutory duties. And that's what I'm getting at. So I'll take a Did you have one more comment, Roger?
I don't, but I mean, that's a matter of a bullet point. That's very technical. That is not something that is to frame the very nature of our discussions. It's, it's a line item. Like, I'm sad. I'm so disappointed.
Well, I think it goes to us not spinning our wheels and getting to the point where we're not having long meetings. Priscilla.
If I could just make a comment, an observation to the people here in the room and anybody who's listening. What you're seeing is our observance of the open meeting law. I had no idea Marcia was going to bring up this particular issue until she just did a few minutes ago. We're not allowed to discuss things among ourselves, except here in this room, in public. And you see what happened. And I don't contest that. I think we need to be open, but that's like, oh, okay, but this is why. And things take longer this way.
Right.
But I still support the process.
Mary?
I think we could relax and really hope that we could find a good person who could help us out. Because I think we're kind of spiraling down here a little bit. We're worrying about what's happened over the past years and months, but we're not going to move forward unless we have a more positive attitude about this.
So can we agree that we will look through that lens when we're working on this document tonight?
Well, I will agree to it.
Good.
Okay. We want to have a town manager, that lens.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yes, you know that there's a statute that prevails, and that's what we're expecting of that person.
Yes, because this is a very onerous job right now.
It is. Mary?
I think Roger did have a good point that the statute is essential, but also that it's not just, we're all kind of older, and we're not going to be here forever. And you have to look towards the young people and what they're willing to do. So I think we could take a little, if there's some positive suggestions from Roger or anybody younger, we should take them. It's not just the statute. You got to have somebody to actually do the job. So
under the statute.
May I just clarify, because I don't want to have any idea that I made an ageist comment in any way. I was saying that the town managers who you are of working age, right? We know, or there is evidence to suggest that the people who are of working age are less attracted to public service. So it is worth self-reflecting, I think, in the spirit of what this conversation is trying to do, thinking about what is it that makes public service so difficult for this current moment and this current generation, and then self-reflect on that and then set a tone for the community itself. I think very simply, there is not going to be anybody who needs to work for a living who is going to come to a community and see the decisions they make with their board eviscerated in public forums, right? And if that is the community that we have, there needs to be a mechanism of support to protect and support the decisions of the decision maker. Because you just won't, either you'll have someone who is not deeply effective because they just don't want to end up in a public forum, or you'll have someone who is effective but short-lived. And so we need to consider why it is that people who are of working age might not value public service at this moment, because we need to hire someone who is of working age. That is why I mentioned.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to now ask for a comment from Will Smith, and then I'll share my screen and we'll go through this document. Will?
Yeah, I'd just like to say there's been a lot of talk about talent in the citizenship of Norwich, a lot of talented people here. I have 15 years experience in the catalog and the e-commerce business. I know how to advertise. If you gave me the resources to do the advertising, I would do the work for free, and I'd find us a very competent town manager. I'm capable of doing that.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to make one more thing. I think Roger said there's some imagined crises in recent history. They were not imagined crises. The last town manager was, in my opinion, a disaster. So we do need to find somebody who is competent, skilled, educated, has all the qualifications we need, and I think that person can be found. And again, give me the resources. I'll find us a town manager. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marcia, I think Brennan had his hand up, and I'm only interrupting because I think he is being gracious and not interrupting, but I'm happy to interrupt for him.
Thank you very much. Brennan.
I honestly was going to comment on the heating system discussion, and I think that's off topic for the agenda item. So we'll have to take that up another time. I have some thoughts.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. All right. I'm now going to share my screen, and we can start working on this document. So what's happened? Roger initially drafted it, so his words are in black. I did some editing, which is in red. Then Pam offered some comments, which are in green. Mary offered some in blue. I don't know if anybody can see colors, but shall we just start going through it? At the moment, we've got an introduction about the town of Norwich form of government, ideal manager candidate, qualifications, scope of work, proposal requirements, and selection process. That would be the selection of the search firm.
Can you make it larger,
Yes,
please?
I think I can make it larger. This says I am, but nothing's happening up there. Got any suggestions?
I think it's a little bigger, a little.
Are you selecting view?
I don't know, did that help at all?
Not really. Thank you for trying.
Can you make the window bigger or not?
You have a PC.
I have a Dell.
Okay. Hit your control key and then
On the plus sign. That's what's happened, and it's up to 100 and
okay.
it stopped.
Well, it's a little bigger, but I can't read it from here. Maybe people at home can read it better. I don't know.
Can you move up?
I've got the printout.
I think we all,
Okay.
the four of us.
All right. I've done the best I can here.
Okay, thanks for trying.
All right. So for the introduction, anybody have any comments about that? Oh, Brennan, if you're still there, Brennan was going to leave after a while. But did you have a number for staff members? And Miranda had asked me what I meant by that. And I said, I guess we need the staff that is actually reporting to the town manager, and then maybe the staff, all of the staff who are, let me start again, direct reports to the town manager, then indirect reports to the town manager, and then the people who are blurry, who are wearing two hats, like, the town clerk who is actually an elected official but does get a wage, who doesn't report to the town manager but is an employee.
So you'd be leaving out coaches and so forth, like the recreational
That's a good point.
hires.
We have a staff of about 30. When you think about the police department, the DPW, people in Tracy Hall, we have approximately 30 people.
Okay.
But Brennan, is that, Pam says 30 people. What do you think? And how do you define those 30 people?
I think for something like this, I would say approximate for 30 staff.
Okay. And not get into the slicing and dicing.
I wouldn't
Okay.
I wouldn't go into part-time or full-time or elected or not. I would just say approximately 30.
Okay, so I'll say staff of approximately. Does anybody else have anything? 30 people. Does anyone have anything else to add or discuss about the introduction? And Brennan, as long as you're with us, if you see something that looks, out of place, sing out. We're happy to hear it.
Okay, I might sign off here in the next 15 minutes, but I'll try to give comment before then.
All right, sounds good. About the town of Norwich, has everyone had a chance to read that?
Well, back on the introduction, you talk about a firm will be selected by
Good point.
November 2023.
Yeah.
Why are we taking so long to do this? What's the holdup?
Well, I went through the last one, and this is not set in stone. This is just, but I went through the last one, and it took a long time. And so I'm
long time to do what? I wasn't part of that, so I don't understand what you're referring to.
The whole thing took a long time in parts. I'm just throwing that out there because I didn't know if that would be reasonable. If we said proposals were accepted, like the next meeting is August, what?
26th.
23rd. We've got a meeting.
We have August 9th next
Right,
week.
which is
And then the
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so if you said August 24th through, just to give people time, that would be a month if you went through September and then a couple more weeks for October. But I'm just throwing out dates here, trying to be realistic.
Well, when we were looking for a reappraisal firm in the lister's office, our contract assessor said the firms that you're reaching out to do this for a living. They're going to reach in to whatever standard response they give, and that's what they're going to send you if they're interested in bidding on the work. He said that, they don't need a lot of time to think about this. They have their stock response. And I think we're going to be looking at the same thing from an employment firm.
So right now, just give us an idea of dates.
Well, if you see up on the side, Pam thinks that the RFP should be issued by 8/4 and with a response deadline of 8/25.
8/4 is Thursday, and I know that's unrealistic.
You're thinking 3 weeks, Pam?
I think I was looking at Friday. If we get this done tonight, why can't we get it out the door by Friday?
Most RFPs under our policy, I think, go out through the town manager's office. So I don't know. That's his workload.
The reappraisal went out the next day after the select board approved the RFP.
Yeah.
So
Again, we have to ask the town manager. Are you still there, Brennan?
well, you're asking the town manager to send it to like 5 firms.
I know,
Once it's finalized.
but it's his workload. Brennan, what's reasonable, do you think?
You're asking me if we can issue an approved RFP by Friday?
Yeah.
I believe we probably could do that.
Okay.
Well, that's nice.
So can I make, sorry, Marsha, so I just want to be clear, maybe rather than framing this as, and I don't even know if this was your intention to frame it as whether or not we want a town manager. Maybe the question is, do we want to do an actual search? Because if you want to do a search, the time that I think is outlined here is the minimum. If you just want to reach out to firms that are identified and see how it is that they handle searches and then begin an engagement with them, that's a different process. I thought our conversations to date were about identifying the firm who knew our community, knew our intentions, knew what we wanted, and then sought hard to find it. But if you just want to hire a firm to do advertising, then we know that there are 2 firms who have a package as Pam has described, and we could just hire one of them. We hired VLCT last time. If you want to just hire MRI, I can send the proposal that was presented previously. But I think the question is, do we want to do this RFP? Because if we want to do this RFP, this is how long it takes at a minimum. Okay.
Thank you. I understood we were doing an RFP. Mary, what do you think?
Well, I think sending it out quickly is certainly a good idea. I'm not sure what the, I'm thinking about Roger's explanation of the process. It's a little fuzzy in my mind. Let's say we get answers back. So the time-consuming part would be polling the community, like going through the sort of the work of finding out what we really want as a community. Is that true, Roger? What's the time-consuming part?
This is just what we're doing. What I thought, I mean, maybe this is a worthy exercise, and I'll defer to Marcia, but like what I think we're looking to do here is to find a firm who will create a proposal to this document, and they will, with our guidelines that are outlined here, create the process that we like best. So we might value a firm who has a strong public engagement outreach plan, or we may value a firm that can just do it quickly. I mean, I think we probably all have different ideas of what we will value in a process, but like, I think we need to see what it comes forth in order to have that conversation. I think we just need to get a proposal out there. So I don't know if that answers Mary's question, but I think it's the firm will decide, what kind of public engagement or community engagement process is involved. It's up to them to propose it. Also, that kind of stuff is expensive, and so they will propose accordingly.
A point of order. Can we move the people in the hall out more?
Yeah. Or just close that door.
I don't think we can close the door. I don't think so.
The one
out
front
thing. And then also, maybe Pam is right that we could just tighten up the window of response and fit within with what Roger's saying.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice compromise. Priscilla, do you agree with that?
Mary said yes.
Pam?
What I hear Roger saying, if I understand him correctly, is that we're doing an RFP to find a firm that we think will do what we want them to do.
Right.
Right.
And I thought we were just soliciting proposals from firms to help us with this search for a town manager. And I doubt that they are going to look at this and say, oh, well, they want a response to.
This meeting is being recorded.
Or a slate of people. That's what this is about.
And they do it the same way for us that they do it for any town. They just have their set practices.
Maybe that's true. Roger?
I don't know if I mean, ideally what you would want, and I think this is just where if you leave enough time, the idea is that they will respond in a way that is particular to our proposal, right? And then you can even add that in the section that was not added to. Like you could even say that you get more points if you, or you'll be evaluated more favorably if you respond more particularly to what you see here. And but they should, if given enough time, respond to the actual RFQ. Like if what happens in practice is they're just like, oh, let's just use the same thing that we use for another town. Like, okay, yeah, maybe, but I don't know if we can assume that.
So I think Roger, Mary, and I have the same idea about this. Pam has a different one. Priscilla, what do you think?
I'm getting more confused by the minute.
Okay. So basically, the initial idea with this was just that you send out a request for proposals and say, hey, you're a search firm. We know that you do searches.
Right.
And we're looking for this. How would you help us find this?
Mm-hmm.
And then they say, if everybody sends back a canned response that's all the same, then we don't have anything to talk about much.
They may not be the same, but they're going to be canned responses.
That's okay.
Right. They may be good.
I've seen their canned responses.
Yeah. Okay. So as long as we understand that, but they don't need 6 or 7 weeks or 10 weeks to give us a canned response.
Yeah.
We need to tighten that window up. But do you think 3 weeks is enough? Or maybe even?
Well, that's why I said, issue it on the 4th and have a response deadline of the 25th.
The 25th, yeah.
And then maybe we can make a decision at our first meeting in September.
Yeah, that's like 3 weeks.
I mean, it's a good way to ensure you get nothing but canned responses.
Well, Roger, forget whether it's canned or not, because that's academic. It's up to whatever they send us.
And it also depends on their workload and how busy they are and whether they're ready to take on another.
Right. So right now the issue is the timing. So,
okay.
Roger,
but nobody agrees. But yeah, nobody agrees. Nobody agrees with Pam, so we should just move on. Like you said it yourself, 3 people think it's fine. Although Mary, I guess, is maybe trying to make an offering for the sake of moving us forward. But like, I don't think, I hear you. I respect what Pam is saying. I don't think all of us agree, even if one other agrees. So we should just accept it as written and move on, right?
Mary?
It's just so funny. We're going round and round with the dates.
I know.
Roger, do you think that the time frame of between August 24th and October 11th is a reasonable amount of time for this response or not? Because I'm thinking it's a little too long.
Yeah.
I think it's the minimum, and I think it's reasonable.
Based on what?
I think as written, or as someone wrote, I think Marcia proposed, who, by the way, has gone through this search before, so that's valuable. And Mary, I guess Mary, the question is for you. You've now gone through this search 3 or 4 times. I think this is reasonable to identify a firm. I think we're going to have another 4 months for the firm to do their work, depending on what they propose. So, we have a contract with an interim town manager for a year. We know that March is a big date. I think getting proposals accepted until October 11th and deciding by November is fine. If Pam is concerned about timing, call a special meeting on the 12th for us to review them, so that way we can be done really quickly.
Of October, you're saying? Oh. It seems to me if you send the firms that are listed here from Mary Gorman are big firms. And so it would seem to me that giving them a month is minimum. And so we could say, proposals will be accepted immediately through and have a cutoff date. How's that?
Yeah.
Typically, RFPs have a deadline.
Yes.
Yeah,
they do.
4 p.m. on X day.
Right. Yeah. But we're thinking maybe October 11th is a little too far out, right?
Yes.
What's reasonable? What's reasonable? Like September, I don't know.
Got a date?
22nd or something? Let's move it up slightly.
Okay, so how about proposals will be accepted immediately?
Typically, you just say the deadline for submission is
right.
4 p.m. or noon or whatever you want to noon on X date.
Well,
so if we did it on September 22nd, it's a Friday, I think that's a Friday before a select board meeting, right?
September 2nd is a holiday weekend too.
September
22nd. The 22nd was I'm just pulling a date out that's a little bit sooner than October 11th.
All right, how about September 13th?
That's much sooner. Because, I'm also wondering, Roger's saying that of the firm doing its work, but we're just trying to sort out choosing a firm, I think, now.
Right.
So we should shorten that up a little bit.
I think we're conflating the search for the manager itself with the search for the search firm. And the search firm, as Pam said, they should be able to get a response out to us pretty quickly. And then we talk about a timetable with them for when they find the,
Okay, so if we just say a deadline of something, then if we don't have anything, we extend the
Well,
deadline.
that's true.
right?
So shall we say September something? And I don't want to get into hours because that is always a problem.
Yeah.
What do you mean hours?
Well, it would be assumed to be closed business.
Because if you say 4:00, it'll come in at 4:05, and then what do you do? So I would just like to say,
Then they missed the deadline.
oh, I think that's a bit pedantic. Let's
That's the way these work.
I know, but we're in the driver's seat, and so we can make it easy on ourselves.
What about September 8th? We could move it way up. I mean, that would be the week after the Labor Day weekend.
Is everybody happy with September
I'm
8th?
just a little sleepy, so what do you think? Or, I mean, Priscilla, what would you do? Give them 2 weeks?
I've never done this before. I don't know. Why not September 8th?
Let's just,
Because Brennan says he could have it out by Friday if we can finish it tonight.
Or we could say the 8th, and as Marcia was saying, if we don't get replies, then,
for 8th, 2023.
so the 8th,
You could say by close of business,
that's good.
because nobody's going to be here after 4:30 to receive anything.
That's true.
Okay. Now, may we move on to about the town?
Aren't you,
Roger, do you have?
aren't you receiving these electronically? Like, it's just like, what is this?
No. Whatever it is, it is.
Okay. Close of business, but like whose business? Like, like everyone's work day is different. This is the year 2023, right? Like I don't even close of business. That's not an acceptable term that's understood anymore. It's fine. Let's just move on. It will be what it is.
Priscilla?
I think it would be helpful for me, not being through this, if we sort of reordered how we did this, because we get into this thing as if we're advertising the job. We talk about the town, about our form of
Before we go there, can we just, what are we going to do with this? I want the date done.
September 8th.
September 8th.
And do we want close of business, understanding that we may have different time zones or whatever?
If that's a Friday, say, hey, nobody's going to be around Saturday.
Well, I can tell you from the businesses I've worked in, we didn't respect hours like that. So, but anyway.
You want to just say 4:30 p.m.?
I mean, I
Eastern time.
would just say September 8th myself, but
I
can stick
agree
with-
with Marcia. Like we should just keep the date.
September 8th.
Okay.
The deadline for submission is September 8th.
okay. About the town, oh, you want to reorder the whole thing?
Yeah, because I got lost in the weeds of, is this I think it'd be say, this is what we're asking you to do, search firm. So here's the scope of work. Here are the proposal requirements. And then this is the kind of thing we're looking for. So.
Okay, does anybody have an objection to moving the scope of work to the second section?
That's fine.
Okay.
And then followed by followed by what, Priscilla? The requirements? And the scope of work.
Maybe the proposal requirements come at the end. I mean, I've run this thing before, but I just got lost in this was sounding like an ad for the town manager, which it is. We say, okay, this is the scope of work. Here's what we want you to do. And then here's a little bit about the town, I guess. And, our form of government, so they know what we're looking for.
Okay, so
that might be the only thing we have to move is the scope of work.
okay.
And then it's just a profile of Norwich, so they know what they're getting into a little bit.
So perform a position analysis. I don't have to read this, right? Everybody can.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
Numbers 1 through, some of the numbers are blank, but 13.
Roger, any problems with scope of work?
Oh, I have a question about
Mary.
scope of work. I don't really understand what an opportunity guide is, and I tried to look it up, and
Yeah, me
I
either.
couldn't.
It's an
I couldn't find a
academic,
definition, so maybe Roger could shed light on that.
kind of an academic thing that maybe doesn't go here.
They use them at Dartmouth.
I've seen it. I saw it in several. I mean, you can just say. I mean, I think it's explanatory in the context of the sentence, right? So it's you're creating some kind of product that advertises the opportunity. So it's not just a job description. It's taking the different components of why someone might want to take the job. I don't know how. I just said opportunity guide or other market the firm to advise us on how they want to market it, right? You can see in some other towns they've created.
Just say other markets.
At the college, when you put out the little booklet to come to Dartmouth College.
Depends on the office that's doing it because they all do their own.
But I mean, it's called some kind of a pitch.
I mean, there's prospectuses and there's all sorts of things, but it depends on the office.
We're not going to want it for an opportunity guide anyway. So.
Has some kind of a view book or whatever they call it that just gives you an overview of the college and the community that it's in.
Yeah, but it literally changes all the time.
I think that's what Roger may have been getting at, is that's kind of a picture of the area and the things that you might do if you moved here, the opportunities, Dartmouth College is nearby. If you have, school-age children, we have a great school system, that kind of thing.
But all those things are also in.
But I don't want to pay a search firm to put that together.
Can we say create marketing materials?
Yeah. Just leave out the.
Maybe, although if opportunity guide is something that's well known in the wider world, I do like the positive spin that it has. It's like, well, what are the opportunities? What's the excitement about working in Norwich? But if it's a little more, I don't know, specialized or not well known, I don't think you should do it. Just stick to marketing materials.
And if you really want to know what is available, you go to TripAdvisor and put in things to do in Vermont.
Well, yeah. But I was thinking the opportunity guide was more about what would be exciting about the town. Like maybe, you have these people that turn around failing corporations. Do we need somebody like that? Maybe, do we need someone who, just is excited about Norwich and working with it and bringing it, you have 6 town managers, maybe the 7th wants to really pull it off, but understands there are some, challenges to
Julia Griffin.
Let's stick with opportunity guide. They have a question, they'll ask us and we'll tell them what we think it means.
We don't need to spend more time on this.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Anything else about that section, or can we move to about the town?
Under number 9.
Yes.
The detailed background and professional reference check, including but not limited to. I keep wanting to have a credit check.
Is that number 9? My number 9 is advise the town on.
This is number 9 underneath scope of work.
No.
No?
It might be the draft, but yeah.
That's the wrong one.
Mine is advise town.
There's an empty number
Establishing
6. Someone edited a number 6 in there. That shouldn't be C.
I don't know.
I printed out the one. I couldn't have had it to go away.
I thought this was the one from the pet.
I changed this one. No, it's up to 5.7. Russia.
5.7.
Yeah. But it's
Completion of detailed background.
It's the background checks and references, and I don't have any objections to a credit check.
I just think it's a really important thing.
I think that
This is someone who is going to be overseeing finances.
Right.
Yeah. You.
Mary, can I see yours? Oh, it's here. Where?
That's just the track. Page 1. What we do there.
I have to type here. Oh, there it is, right there. So,
Okay.
Does it come after in collaboration with the board?
Yes. I think this shows how challenging it is to write as a group and also to get it done in a one meeting. I think we're doing great. But
Where did you want the including but not limited to
let's see.
verification of education background?
With checks on, let's see, criminal, civil litigation, financial and social media issues,
Mr.
and
Criminal and civil.
Okay, it's number 7.
Yep. Financial and social media checks. Is that enough?
and we wanted to add the credit check. Now, is a financial check the same as a credit check?
I don't know.
Well, it says financial and social media issues.
We can say anything we want. So financial.
So an issue is not a credit check.
Yeah, I think a credit check is very nice and specific.
Financial issues might be like he gambles.
Well, I just keep thinking of the guy who was at the Listen Center, and they all thought he was wonderful for years because he was so nice. And then Jim Kenyon wrote that article and said if they'd only done a credit check on him when they hired him, they would have discovered.
Right.
All right. So that's it for scope. Are we all right? And now we're on about the town. Any concerns about the town?
One thing that we could add, where we talk about we're a bedroom community for Dartmouth College, Dartmouth Hitchcock, the Army Corps of Engineers, Coleridge's Lab. We could also mention that there is a VA hospital in the area, which if we have veteran applying, that would be important.
Oh, excellent idea.
Speaking of people who like to serve.
Yep.
Right?
Okay, that's in.
Who wants
Anything
to
else?
serve? Maybe a veteran.
Anything else in that section?
Yes. Montessori Museum.
Oh, excellent idea.
Pretty unique.
You do realize that bedroom community means suburb, right?
What is it, Roger?
A bedroom community is defined as a residential suburb. I feel like it's value laden and should be deleted.
I don't like bedroom community. I don't feel good about that.
Is there another way to couch that that's not offensive?
Say we're a neighbor to.
The Norwich area includes Dartmouth College.
Okay, that's nice. I like that.
I like that.
Also, Roger, you're really ageist. I just have to say.
A bedroom. Yeah, I mean, that's what it means. Bedroom, Google bedroom community. I mean,
No, just saying.
wait, how is that ageist?
No, I'm just saying. I'm just poking at you, little Roger. So I appreciate your comment about the bedroom community, and I think it's good that we're editing that.
But typically, when you talk about bedroom community, that means that people who live here work in these other places.
Well, that may
You
be
sleep here, but you work there.
right. Well, that may be actually true for many residents, but maybe we shouldn't be focusing on that.
I support taking it out.
Right. It's gone.
Okay.
Right. Town of Norwich form of government. Any problems with that?
Yeah. Call me a nitpicker, but I've been sitting there in fire district meetings for 30 years. The last sentence, yes, the fire district is a separate municipality, which provides fire protection and drinking water. Take the sidewalks out. We took, the fire district has had no funding for the sidewalks for years. We want to give them to the town. We're not doing anything about them.
You still own a third of them.
We want nothing to do with
still own a third of them.
but we're not trying to provide sidewalks.
Can I say potable water?
You don't provide fire protection.
We
have hydrants, normal hydrants, right?
we provide water for fire protection.
Right.
Actually, that's why all the pipes are sized as large as they are. They would not be that large. They're just domestic.
Put together, Roger. We're doing our best.
Water for let's see, potable water and, my goodness.
All right. Are we okay? We're okay with this?
How did it end up?
Oh, sorry. It's up there. And which provides fire protection and potable water.
Is it potable
Water for fire protection. Sorry.
What provides
Water for fire protection and drinking. I don't know.
doesn't potable mean?
The fire district provides water.
And you can use it for anything.
Oh, maybe we should say this is water. Okay, it provides water. Fine. We don't have to get in the weeds here.
Ideal town manager candidate. Any problems with any of this?
Well, how about a sense of humor?
That's a good idea.
Patience.
The visionary leader with a good sense of humor.
That's fine. I would take he or she and put they in all instances. So I would just do that as a matter of housekeeping.
Well, I'm ageist, and I think they gives me pause just because sometimes, we've even had these confusions when we were talking about things, Roger, whether somebody meant multiple people or one person. So
Isn't it usually S/HE.
Okay, so can we just say the candidate then? Would that be appropriate rather than he or she?
Okay.
Okay.
That's better. Yep.
He or she is going to become the candidate. For replacements, that was big. Okay, where do we want to put the sense of humor?
Oh, I don't know if it can, but it would be great. Let's see.
We could put it in parentheses after a sense of trust.
Oh, no. Just at the beginning, experienced administrative, creative, and visionary leader with a good sense of humor. Will be able to multitask, effective communication skills, collaborative approach with a good sense of humor.
I don't know. I mean, it's a serious document, but sense of humor is a good skill.
Yeah, I liked it.
But I like it too. That's not where it fits into this.
All right. How about qualifications? Short and sweet.
There was another he or she there on top of page 3. Did you get that and change that to the candidate?
I did Control H.
Okay.
All of them done.
Okay, great.
4 in total.
Okay.
Anything about qualifications?
Now, are we back to the firm or for the town manager? Okay.
Did you delete organizational improvement because it was not clear to you what that meant, or because you thought it stood in for financial stability? Do you know what I mean? Under qualifications.
Oh, I thought it was a bit vague.
Okay.
If everybody likes organizational improvement and wants it back in, easy done.
We could just put it back in.
Yeah,
I can explain what it meant if that helps.
I get it. I just thought it was vague. So climate action and organizational improvement.
Organizational improvement and the like.
Yeah, I take that out also.
Can we leave highly desirable? Oops.
Yes.
Sure.
Financial stability, I think we want someone with real financial ability. As I said, when I read the town's master financial policy, I'm like, wow, we expect an awful lot of financial acumen from our town manager.
So which part are you focusing on?
Or just financial stability?
How about just financial
Ability.
Acumen.
Okay. Okay, where are we going from here?
The next section would be proposal requirements. So, cover letter on firm letterhead. Even if they're doing an email submission, it's easy to do a letter,
Right.
including the date, request for proposal subject line, contact information for the firm's representative with the following information. The firm's experience working with smaller municipalities, and this is largely from Mary's recommendations. A description of the firm's practice vis-a-vis identification of talent and placement of advertisements or other tools to identify and screen talent. What is the firm's approach for developing position specifications, e.g. how are the public, the town employees, and other stakeholders engaged? A description of the, what is this, reference process.
Yes, spelling.
Where are we? Specifically, who conduct reference for municipalities, specifically whether the work is done as a retained or contingency firm, which Mary explains in the memo. If retained, what are the associated fees? And a description of the process and likely timeline. Anything missing? Is that too much? What do you think?
I think it's fine.
Reference is misspelled.
I fixed it. Thank you. Selection process. The board will begin review of proposals, I will say immediately. Come back here.
Upon receipt.
2023. Do we want to say we intend to select by a certain date?
I think we should keep it in mind for ourselves.
Okay.
I think this is the section, and I'm sorry for jumping in. We're all working here with me being remote. I think the selection process section is how you transparently describe how you will review and select proposals. Like, how will you distinguish between proposals, right? So it's not just about, oh, well, that board member wants something cheap and that board member wants something with a public engagement process. It would be about the board will review with this criteria in mind. So I don't think we have the capacity to get into that with great fidelity, but we should describe generally how they will be evaluated when they get their proposals in. Are we selecting proposals based on their ability to respond to the elements of the RFP? Do we care about price? How are we selecting the firm?
So you mentioned specificity before, so we could say the successful firm will be as specific as possible in addressing the
Requirements of the RFP or elements?
requirements of the town. Yeah.
I don't think we want to tell them what things we will evaluate them on. They just, that's for us to decide as we go through these proposals. And
I think, Pam, firms like to know that they are submitting proposals to a process that isn't capricious or arbitrary, but rather is transparently presented in the bidding documents. That being said, I didn't draft that for this group, but I do think we should think about what it is that we want to say, to suggest that we will decide later, or we will decide based on, what's in the documents themselves is not a great best practice.
We
We told them what we want, and if they meet those requirements, they may be successful.
Yeah.
If they didn't meet those requirements, they're probably not going to be successful. I think that's all implied.
So I just added the successful firm will be as specific as possible in addressing the requirements of the town.
I agree.
I agree with that, but I also think we will be considering, I think, the cost, and we'll also be considering whether they can do it.
Of course. So why do we have to say that?
I don't know. I mean, it might.
If they don't know that, then they're in the wrong business.
Well, okay.
They know how they get evaluated.
So,
well, we're asking.
Is this a question for Roger then? If we don't mention this, is it because, like, why should we even say it?
I don't think it's a duh. I think it's appropriate to tell someone how they'll be evaluated, because they like to know if they have the capabilities to meet our evaluation criteria. So I think Mary's right. Like, the other things that we will discuss are their timeline, their ability to produce, the specificity on a timeline, and we will also consider cost, right? There might be a firm that say like, there might be a firm that says like, I am the best in the business, but I couldn't possibly do this for less than 7 months. And the board might say, well, maybe we don't want the best, because what we really value is an expedient timeline. So I guess my question for this group is, what is it that we value in this other than the criteria that we've outlined? What are some of the other things that are important to us? Cost and timeline? Is there anything else? I don't think that should be given.
You don't think that should be what?
I don't think we should assume that that's always a given, right?
I think it should be in there. No, they seem obvious.
They seem awfully obvious. I don't know why we need to fuss about this.
These people are professionals. They know what they get evaluated on, and they know what's expected of them based on what they read in this RFP.
Right. We're telling them what we want to see.
So what we asked up above was if it was going to be they acted retained, or what was the other word?
Or contingency.
Contingency. And Mary says fees for retained searches tend to be 1/3 of the annual compensation, with often a minimum fee. So it seems then we need to say, is that too much? And if that's the case, then we say retained searches are not going to be considered.
Yeah, I think you would balance that against the time element. You know, if you paid the third of the salary and a fee, but they could find a person within a couple of months, then we'd be in a much better position, because time is money as well.
True.
I think our proposal requirements outline all of the things that we would evaluate them on: the cost, their approach, and their timeline.
Yeah, they're all mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it could refer, what did we call that?
Proposal requirements.
Refer to proposal requirements for selection criteria.
How about this? The successful firm will be as specific as possible in addressing the proposal requirements
As outlined in this RFP.
as outlined above. How's that?
Yep. Refer them back to the list that we already created.
Yeah. The board will notify the successful.
I will also say, I'm also interested. I will distinguish between one proposal from another if they have a strong track record in searches, right? So I might get 2 very good proposals, but they might get 2 very similar proposals, but I will more likely choose the one who has a stronger track record. So in that instance, we're not selecting based on the merits of the specificity. We would also be selecting on the merits of their past work. And so, I don't, I should have just drafted this as one thing. Was what I'm realizing.
We do have for their experience.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And they should tell us what their experience is.
Yes. So that section
It's under proposal requirement.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went back to other RFPs that are still out on the town website and picked up the selection process and disclaimer section. So I don't know what we want to put other than, do we want to put a date that we're going to make a decision, or are we going to keep that open and hope that we can turn these around rather quickly after September 8th?
Do we need a disclaimer?
It says they do that, they submit entirely at their own expense. There's no express or implied obligation by the town to reimburse any entity or individual for any costs incurred in preparing or submitting proposals, preparing or submitting additional information requested, or participating in any selection interviews. The town of Norwich reserves the right to withdraw the request for proposal, to accept or reject any or all statement of qualifications, to advertise for new proposals if it is in the best interest of the town to do so, and to award a contract as deemed to be in the best interest of the town. I think those are very important things to include.
I wonder, the town manager's office does RFPs, and I'm wondering if they use a disclaimer at all.
This was proposed, an RFP that was developed by the previous town manager.
So that was in there?
Yes.
It wouldn't hurt to put it in there, would it?
Oh, what was the last sentence? Because I don't see that on this. Maybe I.
Number 2, under disclaimer, the town of Norwich reserves the right to withdraw the request for proposal, to accept or reject any or all statement of qualifications, to advertise for new proposals if it is in the best interest of the town to do so, and to award a contract as deemed to be in the best interest of the town. I think we should also reserve the right to do our own advertising.
Wait a minute. So of the town is the last word, the last 3 words. Okay.
So that's green
I think
section.
we should also reserve the right to do our own advertising, because we may have other people who come to us that are not going through a search firm, and we may want to consider them.
Well, does this, I don't see that this bars that. We're going to send this out to people.
Doesn't hurt to be specific.
Where would you put that?
Under a disclaimer that we reserve the right to
At the end.
to solicit or to accept applicants that do not come through a search firm.
You mean candidates for town manager?
Right.
The town of Norwich reserves, I'm not sure that they would do that one, but I'm not sure.
Well, as long as we understand that that's something that we're willing to do, and we're willing to put our own ad out there, I guess.
I mean, what if we put it on a does the BLCT have a website for, job openings?
They do.
And if we put an ad out there, then
We could put it on our own website.
on our own website. I mean,
That being the sign that you sign, that you can,
Because there may
you can look for other people as well.
Yeah, it should be.
Like, it might not need to be in the RFP, but
Right.
certainly in the contract that you sign with the search.
and they may submit a contract that says that, that we won't do that. And that's something
When
that
you're
we have
selling a
to.
home, you can reserve the right to find a buyer on your own.
Exactly.
A real estate agent. They might,
Yeah, same kind of thing.
Town of Norwich reserves the right to solicit candidates for the town manager position.
I think you would talk about that when you initiate a contract with whomever you select. I mean, we want responses to the RFP, and I feel like when you.
Right. Yeah. But I think in the interim, I would like to see us put these ads out there on our own website, out on BLCT or any other bulletin board that accepts these ads. And, maybe we can find somebody that we don't have to pay a fee.
Oh, I mean, until we've signed a contract with somebody that says we're exclusive, we can do what we want. So I don't know that we really need that. But when we get to the point of signing a contract, if they have this in it, then,
But we've not done it. And my point is, I would like to see us do that. Do we need a motion for me for that? Or are we just going to?
No, I don't think we do at this point. Somebody else can disagree. I think the idea that might scare off people, we're going to get a contract from people, it's like selling a house, right?
Right.
So you're going to get a contract that says something, either, you do it through us or you don't do it or whatever. And we might back away from that, but they also might talk about it. So it might be reasonable to not, exclude people right off the bat with that
Right. Okay.
language.
I can see not putting it in the RFP as long as we understand that it's something we will do starting immediately to get this out there so that if there are candidates who are interested, they can apply directly.
Well, that I think board members, we have to talk about.
That assumes we have a job description that we all like.
Roger?
So,
The state.
so can I mean, I think I very much want a firm to run this process. It's very clear in Marcia's good edits, and I think some other edits from other people, that it clarifies that the board has some role in sort of the major steps of the process or collaboration. But like ultimately, if we get an application, or if the town gets an application, you refer it to the contact at the firm, and they will put that person into the pipeline that they have, that we have approved.
Which is what we did before.
So I'm not going to, I don't want to hire someone directly. I want a search firm to advise us on the hiring of a town manager.
Well, the other part of it is that part of the service is all of that background.
Yeah, right.
That they do professionally.
Right.
So and that's what happened before. If somebody popped up, they were told to go through the process.
Right. So my question is, somebody says, I'd like to apply, and you say, go to XYZ firm. Are you going to pay them not only the fee to put all this together, but you're also going to pay a percentage of that person's salary, even though they didn't come through that firm as an applicant?
If you sign the contract, I think you'd have to honor it.
Right. And again, you hire somebody, it's like hiring a house. I don't know, I can't make a good thing. But when you make a contract for something and they're providing the service for you, if somebody pops up and says, hey, I'm a good house painter too, you say, go talk to the company that I hired. And the reason for that in this case, as I said, is because they're going to go through that professional process. They do the, screening and stuff. My experience before was they would come to us and say, here's a spreadsheet and here's all the people, here's what they do, here, a nice summary. And that kind of thing takes a lot of time. Plus then these people are hopefully going to be able to suss out all of the stuff that's very important that we might not be able to suss out. So I think it's a good way to spend money. Mary, Priscilla?
I think it's just frustrating that we're taking a long time to do this, but I think it's a good process.
I think we're done.
I think we're done with the editing, yes.
So are we happy with this? Do you want me to press accept changes and then send it all to you so that you can?
Yeah.
Yes.
Please.
And I'll clean.
Be good.
And would that get rid of like things that have lines?
All the clutter.
Yeah. Just like, and
Roger?
Sorry to interrupt, Priscilla. I don't, maybe you were going to say this actually. Who are they sending it to?
us. Right. No.
That's the next thing.
Okay. So, we should have an email address for them to send their proposal to, listed here.
Let's back up. Mary had suggested 5 firms. We've also got VLTC. I'm trying to get my track changed.
Mary suggested 4, and then 5 is VLC2.
Oh, sorry, I can't count. I was thinking municipal was.
Yeah, the 5 includes VLCT.
So is there, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with like making your proposal known to potential firms, but I do think there's a specific point about solicitation probably somewhere in the proposals. So we should, I don't know how you want to deal with that.
Can you be, I'm sorry, I'm tired. What is it? I don't understand.
I think it just kind of undermines the RFP process if we then go and send it to a specific set list of firms. Like, obviously, there's no harm in sending it to who we have previously identified and invite them to bid, but we also need to have a general email address for whomever else is out there to bid.
I think I think the only thing is that there are some firms that kind of do this for this type of search. And so it's maybe good to know about those and choose those in particular. And then I don't know how you'd find other random firms, but
Put it on the what town website.
We'll keep it open for others. That's probably smart.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see this as exclusive.
And what's the point about the email, Roger? What would you suggest for that?
Well, I guess my question is, would the motion maybe include that the town manager's office contact these firms or make them aware of our proposal in addition to publicly posting it? And does this board want to provide any other advertising directives to the town manager's office?
We don't say anywhere where they send this.
Yes, it's in the motion.
But it's in the no, but I mean in the RFP we've been working on, it doesn't say.
No, we don't. You create an RFP and then you decide who you're going to send it to.
Yeah,
well, I think it's really about making it available for people to see it. I don't think we're supposed to explicitly send it to who we think is best, because that defeats the purpose of an RFP, right? Where we're supposed to be open and available to all potential firms. So
you send it to the firms that you know can do the work, and you also make it available on the town website. So if anybody else wants to apply that isn't on our list, they can apply. When we did the RFP for the reappraisal, we had a list of firms that were approved to do that kind of work. We have a list of firms that do this kind of work, and we should directly solicit them for a response. Otherwise, how are they going to know?
I think
also
one at a time.
Yep. Go ahead.
We don't, maybe I just don't. I mean, I'm new at RFP things. We don't say anywhere in this document, if you're going to submit something, here's where you send it. There's no email address,
contact,
just no
information. Yeah.
I think Brennan's office they put together RFPs and they'll.
Okay. So, okay, fine. Maybe there's a cover. Okay.
I hit the button and it's got a horrible spinning wheel. All right, I'm going to try and share this again.
Are you on the public Wi-Fi or are you on the private Wi-Fi?
Public.
Yeah, that's the problem. They should give you the password for the private.
Does Roger have that?
Seems to be working. So can you see it? I'll go back up here. Maybe you could. Thank you for coming.
You do amazing work.
Okay. Can you guys go up and read it up there?
I trust that you put in the changes that we asked for.
Okay. I can also send it to you if it ever stops spinning. I'll tell you what, I will send it to everybody.
And you need to get rid of your color highlights and all that.
Yeah, I'll do that. It may happen when this little blue wheel stops spinning, but please tell me.
You won't get rid of your color highlights. It just gets rid of your change.
Okay.
It accepts all your changes.
All right, so I'll send that to all of you. And if you see something glaring, then you can send it to Brennan, because Brennan will have this for sending out this week. Yes, sir. You want to come up?
Will this be available in minutes, the final draft?
Oh, okay.
make a note to myself. All right, so do we need a motion to say that we're going to send it to all 4 of these plus others, or we want to just sort of, what's our direction to the town manager's office? I had put on those 4 plus VLCT on the motion sheet.
I think it's good to send it to these firms. How do we also include just general advertising on this motion though?
We put it on the town website, on the homepage.
Well,
should we ask the interim town manager to do that?
Yeah.
So,
and you could just say, list all of those, and I don't know what other search firms I don't know.
I think we just put on the homepage that Norwich has issued an RFP for a town manager search. And then we link this document. And if there's a firm out there that sees that we're advertising, looking for a firm, and they want to apply, they can apply.
But what we're talking about right now is the motion. So we could say,
Yes.
and add it to the listserv or whatever.
And on the town website, what homepage? Isn't that what you just said?
So issue the RFP and post to town website.
And distribute it to the following search firms, blah, blah, and to post to the town website.
Homepage. Yes, that's
homepage.
front and center.
Do we want it on the listserv?
We could. Sure, that lets the residents know that we're doing something.
And
finally.
listserv.
And we could just give a blanket and any other reasonable location for advertising. That's it.
Listserv. Any other reasonable, what we're calling a location,
I guess.
venue, reasonable
Venue's nice.
venue for publication,
Yeah. Or for distribution.
for distribution.
There are some websites besides VLCT, and that I know previous town managers have mentioned that they had places that they could post things for us. And I don't know off the top of my head what they were, but.
So now I'm concerned. If I turn off my computer and the little blue light is still spinning, is it going to save those changes?
Is it on Google Doc?
Yeah. It's not on a Google Doc. It's on an autosave Word.
We luckily have a recorded meeting where you shared your screen.
That's true.
It's wicked hard to read it. And you email it to yourself and for
I'm trying to just copy it again.
I tried to take notes too and put in the changes in my copy.
So, Marcia, are you looking for a motion? Because I don't necessarily know if a motion is entirely needed, because we should hopefully have processes that the town manager and our town manager form of government has for releasing RFPs, and maybe we could just trust in that.
Yeah, the only thing was that we had this list of specifics.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to know if we wanted to do those. Right.
I would like to see a motion.
Okay.
Motion can't hurt.
It's fine.
I am so struggling with this. Somebody want to make a motion?
All right, it's going to be a mouthful. I move to authorize the interim town manager to issue the RFP as amended to Municipal Resources, Inc., Ralph Tellis, Baker Tilly, Colin Bainziger and Associates, and Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and post the RFP to the town website homepage, the Norwich listserv, and any other reasonable venue for distribution.
That's great. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Priscilla. All in favor? Roger?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Marcia? Yes. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Good work, everybody. Unless there is other business to come before the board, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mary, and second?
I'll second that. Sure.
By Priscilla. Roger?
Yes.
How do you vote?
Yes.
Priscilla? Pam?
Yes.
Mary? Marcia? Yes.
8:37 p.m.
8:37, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, very much. A 2-hour meeting. I'm grateful.
My wife, I would not say a word, but now that the meeting is adjourned, the word is, I'm beginning to learn how complicated and hard your jobs are. And I very much appreciate the hard work and effort that goes into it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. That's very
Thank
sweet.
you, sir.
Hold my hand.